Hey, it's Greg Winters of Personal Dog Training, and welcome to the Calls with Clients podcast. This is where you hear us talking to our initial calls with clients and potential clients, where we discuss the issues they're having. It gives us insight into what dog parents in America are really asking of dog trainers. In this one, we have a pretty severe case. This lady's dog is extremely fearful and has human aggressive tendencies.
So it was really hot, and with COVID, nobody came to the house. We took him some places, but not a lot because it was so hot, you know.
Okay, yeah.
So he's always been like really afraid of everything, like the wind and like wet grass. I mean, he's just really that personality to begin with. But so now that we're starting to get out and about and people are coming over, he's very aggressive. He's charged at a couple people. Luckily, he hasn't bit them. He growls and barks and his hackles get up. And of course, he's more. I think he's like almost very protective of the family. That if someone gets close to us, he gets more aggressive.
And so he's lunged at some people?
Yeah.
Okay. And, so cut right to the chase. So I work with Saguaro pretty directly for probably over 5 years and a couple other vets. I get referred by a number of vets, but only a few really understand my work.
Yeah.
And so the first line of defense for a dog that's already, even if they have bite potential, that's a dog that's charging forward and we can't stop them. We're going to get you muzzle conditioned. We're going to teach you about muzzle. We'll get you the right type of muzzle. I'm going to give you videos about how to start doing the muzzle conditioning yourself, because the dogs normally tolerate it from their owners best than, say, a stranger.
Yeah.
Traditional dog trainer will have a dog already wants to aggress on it, do the muzzle conditioning. That sounds kind of stupid to me. So we'll get you right up front, like after this conversation, your job is going to be, I'm going to get you educated enough to take it seriously so we can, it actually allows us to advance very quickly because we don't have to hide from it. And what we're saying is, we want the dog to be able to express itself, so when it goes to bite me, I'm not all adrenalized and scared and going to get hurt. I just go, okay, the dog bit when I touched here. And we can start to identify exactly what the hell's going on, right?
Okay.
And then, so that's like one of these things is like, I have some dogs that are they're presenting as borderline, they're not aggressive, haven't bitten anybody, but they look borderline, and we still have to do it as a professional courtesy so I can work with them.
Right.
So I can't handle an aggressive, I call it, and this is education, all this is like education because you won't hear this stuff anywhere else, unfortunately, from the dog industry and dog trainers. I call dogs that will aggress with other people, dogs that aggress with people very rarely aggress with their owners or a few designated people.
Right.
It's very common. And if we have that situation, like you're not scared of your own dog, it's very important, it's super important that we leverage that and utilize you as what I call a bridge person. A bridge person is the one that does the muzzle conditioning, starts to teach some of the stuff so it's not so harsh, and then I can handle the dog safely, say, hopefully by a second session because we get you up to speed, right?
Okay.
And then the way I work is through private training, and we do some board and train as well, but obviously same thing with board and train. They'll tell you to come and board and train your dog. I do it in a home environment if I do it, but I won't do it until the dog is safe with me for obvious reasons. It turns out they'll take a dog that's scary for all their people, and they treat the dog like a Hannibal Lecter. And it's absolutely unnecessary, and I don't trust the results that you get out of that. Even though sometimes the work we have to do is physical and tough, it doesn't have to be unnecessarily traumatizing. If the dog has trauma, then let them show it. Let's not add to it, right?
Yeah.
So the first hour, when I do the first hour, it's 125, and then I push into one of the private training programs where 3 sessions for $375. 5 sessions for $550, 7 sessions for $700. And what's the dog's name?
Rocky.
And hey, listen, it's not, I don't vilify any particular breed, but one of the bites I took, I've taken is from a Corgi. on the back of my leg, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and you go sometimes thinking, oh, they're all so cute and fluffy of a certain breed, and then you have to get smarter and realize it's not their fault either. He's probably hand and touch sensitive, scared of frontal stuff. When you don't know how to push the dog to walk a certain way, you can't expose them to things properly, so they start defaulting into, locking up on things like the grass you had mentioned, or the wind. They live somewhere that's too quiet. I notice a lot of my clients lived in too quiet neighborhoods to get the proper exposure using, and any walking structure that I teach as well to expose properly to get the right result. Going out.
Well, I ended up, because he would back out of his collar, and the only collar I could find was the prong collar. He actually was much better with that on.
It's not a bad tool. Not a bad tool. So I use a plastic version of the prong collar. It's plastic, so it works very similar. I call them communication collars because they have they can be sized. And this is important education stuff right up front. Size to be slightly loose, and then you can pop and relax for a correction. It becomes a no or leave it. And then that's how you get to the verbal level by doing a physical means that's safe. And that's, again, why I work with the vets. The vets that really know my stuff understand that this is the safest collar, that a harness they slip out of, you can't unlock them. There's dangers to slip leads and choke chains and flat buckle collars that are really going to hurt your dog because they never stop pulling, and it's directional and doesn't have that even pressure. And so, we'll be using something like that for sure on Rocky. But what I'll tell you right away is you're going to need a certain brand of muzzle.
Okay.
It's called Baskerville muzzle. And I think that I have to look at the size chart, but you're probably like a 3 or a 4. I would recommend buying one or both. And
where do you get those?
Amazon.
Okay.
And then the only other piece of equipment you need with that is your traditional flat buckle collar you put your tags on. You need one of those that's kind of thin. It's got to be like 3/4 of an inch or less. It can't be really wide to go with the collar because it fits inside of it kind of as a third point of contact to keep it on.
I think a flat buckle. I don't know. I mean, he has a collar. It's just like a nylon collar with
one
a plastic clip.
Yeah, one of those that's thin.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Dedicated to work with the muzzle. That's all.
Okay.
But the muzzle for sure, and then I'll send you a video when we get done here. Right away, I'll send you a muzzle conditioning video. We just put food in it. The dog starts putting its face in there. Then you move the muzzle away. And eventually we got to put it on, and the last part is size it so they can't get it off easily. It doesn't slide right off. And then by the time we do that, some dogs still, even though you do all that muzzle conditioning, they still try to go after the muzzle, so you may have to correct them off of it a bit as well. And so we can work through all that stuff in the first session, especially if you've already at least brought the muzzle out a bit and looked at it and started to put some food in it, some cheese or some cream cheese or some peanut butter or something at the bottom, and they start licking inside of it and then pull it back, like in the video I'll show you. And again, we want this dog, for us to do the work, we want the dog not just, I used to do this early in my career, throw the muzzle on just cold and try to work through it. No, we want the dog to wear the muzzle and get used to it and try to be as natural as possible wearing it, so that we can work through all the real life stuff as quickly as possible. So the dog, not just, I had the muzzle on, I'm totally shut down. It's, I had the muzzle on, I'm starting to just act kind of normal-ish. So we have people that we know the dog has a bite history now, baby biters, right? How long is it going to take for that owner to be comfortable? The dog may be wearing a muzzle around the baby indefinitely. Right?
Right.
And it's a big help and a tool for safety and to see what's really happening.
Okay.
So, that's pretty much the run of the whole thing, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, fear, aggression. What are some of the other situations in which he kind of was having problems?
We have a cat, so sometimes that can be a little, he doesn't listen all the time, but he's rough he can be rough with the cat, but I mean, he grew up with the cat. We got him when he was 2 months old, so. So, sometimes I wish he'd listen better. Sometimes he listens, sometimes he doesn't, to leave the cat alone.
Well, again, and it's probably, you don't want getting too physical with a cat. If the cat really likes it, that would be it's very rare. It does happen, but it's extremely rare. And then your dog's getting into, sounds like a little bit of a chase kind of prey drive type of thing.
Right, yeah.
Some of the behaviors even related to the aggression can be prey drive related. In that you're not channeling hunting drive, sensitivity to movement. The dog's naturally hand and touch sensitive. It hasn't been worked on the proper way that I'll show you how to reset. The dog also has hunting drive, so the eyes are misreading because it's in the chase mode a little too much. And these are all things that will kind of help you piece together as we try to rehabilitate and work on the dog's full behavior. So I teach things I've developed myself called communication commands, like how to play tug the right way so you can deal with the hunting drive, how to do your place commands, how to re-expose your dog using the walking structure. The movement of the walk is a big major tool in helping change the dog's overall responses. And then with the muzzle conditioning, it will help us advance into, hey, this dog wants to lunge and come forward. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
See if we can correct out of it really quick. Because the last thing that dog trainers will tell you on the behavior side, so a dog attacks me, the last thing I want to do is be perceived by that dog as attacking it back.
Right.
So with the muzzle, you kind of you may correct them with the leash, and they're already learning leash They're already learning the leash correction before they attack you, and you're correcting them through the leash. You have a chance of stopping them in a way that's non-confrontational. And from this side, and that's really, really, really important. And it's a nuance that I didn't know in the beginning of my career. Most dog trainers, they don't get it. They think, they're trying to bite me, I'm going to bite them back. No, you're biting me. I want first few times I want to see why are you biting me?
Yeah.
What is it exactly? And get some insight. Is it just the hand sensitivity? Is it you're overexcited and you charge? Is it just the initial? Now with him, does he get aggressive with the person initially and then warm up to him, or do they start moving fast or get up and it happens again type of deal?
Well, I mean, he doesn't seem to get over it. Like, the last instance is, we had, sorry, my son's playing video games in the back.
Oh, that's fine.
We went up north, with my niece and my son, and I put him in the front seat at my feet, and he was okay. Like, he really almost didn't realize she was in the back seat. But so she spent the night. So it was 2 days where sometimes he seemed like he kind of ignored her, but then just out of the blue he lunged. He went after her. The whole time I tried to keep him on a leash whenever we were around to make sure, but he never really got used to her. Although sometimes we thought he was warming up, he ended up still lunging at her. Yeah,
so you got to be careful. No more attempts at contact. It sounds like your dog is I never really use the dog's directly guarding somebody, but due to the following behavior and the lack of boundaries around you, you've created it sounds like a dog that's doing a little bit of that as well. So,
well, that's what when he charged her, I was outside with him, and I came in. I was on the other side of the house, and I didn't think he would run in and go after. He started barking at her, and she got up and moved next to my son, and that's when he really got.
Yeah.
He charged her she went the wrong direction, and I felt like he was trying,
A lot of these dogs that they perceive, there's all kinds of perceptions, but a lot of them there's a variety. But if they even perceive that the person's getting between you and them, even from a distance, it can trigger stuff. If they think somebody's creating a real boundary, you have the classic case that if I brought in the bite sleeve. I bring in a bite sleeve. I never train dogs to bite anything except their toys. Okay, I'm anti-bite.
Yeah.
I'm actually anti-bite protection training entirely, but that's neither here nor there. But I bring it in in reverse to touch the dog with it to see if it locks on. Now, a lot of dogs, just a presentation of something like flat, like a wall, like this thing coming at them, they melt down from a combination of touch sensitivity and panic, can't move back off a boundary. And if you don't teach it, it causes a panic syndrome about thresholds and boundaries. And there's some of that going on along with the charge because it moves, maybe a little bit of hunting drive, all these kind of mixed in a bucket. And that's why the muzzle conditioning will help us identify what are your dog's particular things. You know?
Yeah.
So, well, you let me know. I mean, my schedule's kind of screwed up, and we'd probably put you out like a week and a half, but that would give you time to start doing some muzzle conditioning, I guess.
Okay. Okay, so, yeah, and you come to the house? Is that how it works?
Yeah, yep.
Okay,
And then when the dog starts meeting, if it needs to meet other dogs or field trips, we go out and do those together, and you come over here to meet dogs. I always have the socialization groups here at the house.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, it all sounds pretty good to me.
Oh, one other thing. Does he ever go into a kennel, or can he accept going inside of a kennel?
He loves his crate.
Okay.
He's always, will stay in it even with the door open.
Now, is it by any chance just the standard wire kennel?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
That's another way, without me having to have direct contact, I can evaluate him through the wire kennel.
Okay.
And start to do some of the frontal eye contact, hand touch, potential touching through the kennel, even though I'm not touching, right? Use the barrier of it. To just see some basic overall reactions and see if he's easily corrected out of it, or if there's something deeper going on. Then I get you to work the muzzle. That first session, I do some of that stuff about in the kennel and check him out, see how he responds to frontal and overhand reaches while he's in the kennel. See if we can use some scent to start teaching him to accept it better, which is the wait and relax communication command I've used for waiting and relaxing and for fearful dogs and frontal hand touch sensitivity like your dog. For over a decade I've been using this to directly deal with this issue instead of dinking around the edges, right? And then we'll get you to see how far you are in your muzzle conditioning. We'll remind you of some of the stuff, like it's okay, you did the muzzle conditioning now. You may be able to even clip it. Now you have to have a leash and collar on to correct the dog for going after it, and then also you have to make sure it's fitted properly so you can't pull it off. You can't, no matter how hard. And if we have the rare case, there are dogs that heads, corgis can be one, their heads are funny, that they, even when it's put down tight and properly, when you really go after it, you could see if they really went after it, they could get it off in 3 to 5 seconds. We got to know that.
Well, yeah, I had to put a muzzle. Well, see, how I ended up going to the vet is because I wasn't able to trim his toenails because I was a vet tech, so I always trim my own dog's toenails. But my husband wasn't able to hold him, so I got a muzzle and tried to muzzle him, but he kept getting it off. When we went to the vet, I did get it on him myself, but it was super, I felt like it was too tight, but I felt like if it wasn't that tight, he would have got it off.
Well, it depends. I don't know what they're, using. They're supposed to try to use Baskerville muzzles if they can, but lots of times they try to get away with just the mesh ones, and you still can get bit. That's why you're using Baskerville. It's only muzzle that.
But I just was like, the way it was on, I felt like it was too tight, but yet I felt like if it wasn't that tight, he would get it off.
Well, it's not just about it being tight enough. You also can't let them go for it directly, and that's why you got to correct through it a bit as well. Because there are dogs that will try. You don't let them just go after it under any circumstance, because dogs have been known to scratch their own faces even if they can't get it off and really hurt themselves. So there's technique behind all this stuff to try to make it as easy as possible on the dog. That's why a lot of muzzle conditioning with food, and then don't let them panic and get it off, because that makes it worse. It makes it harder.
Okay,
because they're going to try based on the old pattern for sure.
Yeah.
So if you want to look
as you can see, some of these cases are very serious, so it's important that we talk through what's going to have to be done. If you have a dog that's going to bite people, having a process like what I've developed is really important, and to get that sign on, immediately by these clients is really important. Thank you for listening to the Calls with Clients podcast, episode 3 with Greg Winters of Personal Dog Training. And never forget that change is possible when you use behavior-based commands to clear things up.